So happy Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is about the shared blessings and the harvest. Can't hear me? Oh. Yes, please, the first graphic. So let's all take a moment to rub our tummies and say thank you to all of those beloved birds who made our holiday possible. We shared, whoa, I'm making way too much noise. You want to change me over? Well, I'll try. I can't promise I'll stay put. You know what, let me move it a little bit, maybe that'll help. I hear air. Yeah, is breathing allowed? How's that? Is that better? Try it now. Is that better? Yes? Okay. All the way down? Okay. All right. So here at the High Desert Center for Spiritual Living, we celebrated our first annual Thanksgiving Day feast. Woohoo! Special thanks to Ann Duffy. Please stand up, opening her lovely home to all of us. There were 12 disciples who showed up. There was even an empty seat for the prophet Elijah, right? And everyone who came gave of their time, their talent, their treasure, and their thoughts, evolving that into a special occasion for us, our very first one. We had a blessing from Reverend Dan, who happened to be the senior minister on the premises, and he shared a prayer that his father used to share with everyone. For those of you who don't know Dan, he's a retired Unity minister, and he is a member of our congregation. There was lots of lively conversation. The food was incredible. And the harvest blessings were shared by all. So as you probably have surmised, our theme for this month is gratitude. And we certainly have a lot to be grateful for. In classical antiquity, the cornucopia, or the horn of plenty, which is the title of my talk this morning, is a symbol of abundance and nourishment. It's usually horn-shaped and overflowing with produce, flowers, or nuts. This one on the screen is a giant one that was prepared for a Navy Thanksgiving dinner back in 2005. Looks good enough to get inside and eat your way out, doesn't it? The Great Seal of North Carolina, where I hail from, shows liberty standing, holding the Constitution, evolving the guarantee for us of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And you see plenty seated, holding on to the cornucopia. Believe it or not, the coat of arms for Colombia, Panama, Peru, Venezuela, and even the state of Victoria, Australia, all feature the cornucopia as a symbol of prosperity, which just goes to show you that great minds think alike. In modern depictions, the cornucopia is typically a hollow, horn-shaped wicker basket filled with various kinds of festive fruit and vegetables. We even have one on the stage, a little baby one. In mythology, there are many explanations for the origin of the cornucopia. The best known involves the birth and nurturing of the infant Zeus. And if you remember, legend has it that he had to be hidden from his devouring father, Cronus. The story might sound somewhat familiar if you remember Jesus had to be hidden from Herod so that he wasn't killed. So Zeus was cared for by many divine attendants, including the goat Amathea, who fed him with her milk, until he accidentally broke off one of her horns, which empowered that horn to provide unending nourishment. So at a young age, Zeus was already testing that mind, body, spirit, emotional connection. Instead of living in conscious union with Source, which we often do in life. Has anyone been there? Okay, the rest of you just tune out, because this message is not for you. Here at the High Desert Center for Spiritual Living, we teach spiritual tools, prayer, meditation, creative visualization, and affirmations to help you get in alignment with the higher power. So, are you ready to do the work? Let's start with an affirmation. I am grateful to be whole, perfect, and complete. Let's say that again. I am grateful to be whole, perfect, and complete. And so it is. Speaking of perfection, we can always count on Mother Nature to give us wonderful examples of things to live by. Both of these pictures are called Horn of Plenty. The one on the left is a lovely violet flower. The violet color, of course, represents the crown chakra and our opening to that higher power. And the mushroom, which is also called the Horn of Plenty, you can see by its shape, looks exactly like the cornucopia. That is 1 in a million mushrooms, which raises the question, if the universe is infinite, why are we in want? And Dr. Ernest Holmes tells us that we cannot contract the infinite, but we certainly can expand the finite. Oh, it's okay, not to worry. Listen to the tone. Everyone listen to the tone. There's a slight break. So as I was waiting to receive the letter of call from our spiritual community, it was supposed to show up on a Friday, and it didn't show up. So like a good religious scientist that I am, I got busy expanding my idea of how that was supposed to look. So the tone and the call was there, but it didn't come in the way that I expected it to come. Normally, priority mail comes to the back porch by the door. Wasn't there. So then Saturday morning, I sent off a text and said, it hasn't arrived. Friday morning went by, Friday afternoon went by, Friday evening went by. No letter of call. So do they really want me? Has something changed? So sure enough, there was a tracking number, and the package still isn't there. And this is not unusual for Lake Lore. One time I sent out an announcement, and I got it back in the mail a year later. So I'm busy moving things around. I'm checking the downstairs porch, the upstairs porch, the back porch. There's still no letter of call. Well, the whole time, the letter of call was in the mailbox, which is really where it's supposed to be. But I couldn't quite get a grasp on that. And I didn't understand later why that was happening. So as it turns out, when I found it on Monday morning, because I thought, well, as a last resort, let me just check the mailbox. Duh. And there it was. Well, as it turns out, that Monday was a new moon. And the new moon is the perfect time to release new ideas into the universe. So even when you think the Great Spirit isn't working through you, it's working. So when we believe that we're separate from the Great Spirit, we might find ourselves lost in the far countries. Many of you, I'm sure, remember the story of the prodigal son. And his journey metaphysically represents the descent of the soul, or a movement towards the outer rim of spiritual existence, where we get busy moving things around out there in what I like to call the land of effect, thinking we know better than the higher power. Ralph Waldo Emerson tells us that what lies behind us and what lies before us are tiny matters compared to what lives within us. We cannot exhaust the quantity of spirit. How many grains of sand do you suppose there are in the Sandia Mountains? How far can we stretch our imagination? At the conference that I attended recently in Asheville, they were talking about the progression of our service as ministers, and it turns out that in the 18th year of ministry, which is what I will begin as soon as the clock rolls over into the new year, everything becomes a topic or a talk title. How many of you use search engines online? Wonderful tool. Discover all kinds of things that have to do with the Horn of Plenty. So it's been an interesting journey. I discovered a debut solo album entitled The Horn of Plenty that was written by the Grizzly Bear Band. So where can I go with this? Grizzly Bear Band. Well, here are the lyrics from the song. Baby, I've got silver and I've got gold. But when push comes to shove, this is getting old. I wouldn't have it any other way. No, I wouldn't have it any other way. And when you call, I'll be there. I wouldn't have it any other way. So even though we get caught up in that material quest where we think we know better, it's very important to call upon our spiritual family, to reach out and ask someone to hold the high watch for us when we get lost. Now, the grizzly bear is known for its strength. Although it can be ferocious, it's not naturally aggressive. So this would be the part about me that is the fundamentalist religious scientist, if there is such a thing. And that would be that we should never, ever, ever sacrifice principle, not even for special occasions. When we consciously turn away from our truth, we no longer have access to the cornucopia of life. Have no fear. The law will continue to work. It'll just work by appearing not to work. So contrary to popular belief, bears do not truly hibernate. Their temperature drops, the breathing slows down, and the depth of their sleep depends upon how much fat is stored. Kind of like when we finish eating the turkey and we all go, night, night. In the animal spirit world, this reflects the ability of the bear to teach us how to go within, to find the resources necessary for our survival. Stretching our spiritual muscle isn't always easy. I remember one time I was counseling a young woman who had ovarian cancer. And she was new to the teaching, and so we just kept going over and over and over again the idea of changing your thinking so you could change your life. And she really began to understand it, and she began to get better. And at one point during our journey together, she shared with me that when she was in traffic, she used to beat on the steering wheel and say, if I don't stop doing this, I'm going to get cancer. And sure enough, she manifested it. So the symbology of that bear in hibernation is about awakening the power of the unconscious, moving that which is not known into the conscious mind. She wasn't even aware of what she was doing when she was affirming that. It's only by bringing it out into the open and applying it that the honey of life can be tasted. And we know all bears, me included, have a fondness for honey. So whether you're lured by the hope of some miraculous discovery or enticed by the promise of some mystical fulfillment, when the journey is complete and we come full circle, we find that what we are looking for is what we are looking with. And in closing, I have a big, fat quote from Dr. Ernest Holmes. That subtle something which runs through all things and which we call the thing itself. That energy without which nothing can be energized. That life without which nothing can be energized. That life without which nothing can live. That power without which nothing can move. And that spirit without which nothing can be is God. So we believe, as religious scientists, that the kingdom of heaven is within us, and that we experience this kingdom to the degree that we become conscious of it. So in our country, the Horn of Plenty is tied into Thanksgiving, the harvest, and of course the turkey. And the turkey is a symbol of shared blessings. So I've got silver and I've got cold, the lyrics from the song. How do I use my blessings to their greatest advantage? By practicing gratitude. And so I'm very grateful this morning to be here and to be a part of this spiritual community. And I'm going to ask you to join me in another affirmation. I am grateful to be a member of this loving spiritual community. Let's say that again. I am grateful to be a member of this loving spiritual family. I have one more. I am grateful that I have plenty to spare and plenty to share. That I am great to spare and plenty to share. Our lives are filled from the universal horn of plenty. And as your new minister, my commitment to the High Desert Center for Spiritual Living is to serve all who enter into this sacred space to the highest and best of my ability. Sorry, I'm a little emotional. That gift of service can only happen if I am in alignment with the higher power. So like I said to you earlier, I'm here for the same reason you are, and that is to grow my conscious awareness of my connection to Source. My heart overflows with love and joy as we come together as a spiritual family to support one another in gratitude, peace, and love. Thank you, and namaste.